Welcome back, everybody, to We Are TPM with your host, Kyle Teixeira, and your other host. Sitting next to me is John Teixeira. What's up, dude? We are back this week to discuss the softening rental market. If you guys have anything to discuss, want to discuss that topic or any other topic that we talk about, give us a call, 817-818-9039. Shoot us an email the old school way at showmethemoney@wearetpm.com. John Teixeira, still sitting next to me. What did we discuss today?
Here. The softening rental market. It's tough out there right now, right? I mean, as far as rental rates. And so there's a lot of vacancies. There's people still trying to get the rates that they were getting last year or even 6 months ago, and it's not working because there's not as many people out there renting. The economy's soft. The election is happening. All kinds of stuff happening in the world right now, and rents are temporarily going down. Just like it's very cyclical, so it's happening just like every other market. It's cycling down for some period of time right now.
Well, and I'd like to. We're recording this one October 17th. We've mentioned a lot about what time of year.
What year is it?
2038.
Oh, God. I'm old.
We've talked a lot about in the past about how this time of year, October, really, is we generally see a softening of the rental market to some degree. What we're bringing up today is a little bit more of we're coming down from the highs a little bit. It's really what it is. So.
Well, you kind of have a trifecta. You're absolutely right. You got a softening that naturally should probably happen because it was going up too much. Mm-hmm. You got an economy that's suffering, and you have an election cycle you're in the middle of. We're about 3 weeks away from finishing the election cycle. So all three of those things could soften the rental market, and you have all three at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of uncertainty in markets is never a positive. It never drives growth. What are we running up? What's the market running up on? Man, uncertainty. It's killing the market.
So I kind of want to impart a couple things here, a couple messages. One, remind everybody that this is a cyclical thing and it's temporary. Okay. Two, we've been telling people now's the time to buy. So investors are probably sitting there listening to those two messages that don't reconcile and go, really? Now's the time to buy when rents are down? Like, why would I do that?
Rates are down.
Because rates are coming down. Homes are cheaper and easier to buy right now than they will be. That's the reason we've been giving. If you decide to buy right now, and the rents are down, it's fine. They're only going to be down for a little while. You'll sign one lease, and that's with it like that.
Yeah, and not all places. Probably. I mean, high demand areas and high demand sub markets are still sustaining.
Micro markets. There's micro markets. Absolutely.
There's a big softening in the places that are getting high inventory, right? And a lot of that's trickle down economics from the sales market. So we're going to keep this into the softening of the rental market. But we've already talked that there's been a softening in the sales market, and when a softening in the sales market goes on long enough, aka inventory sits on too long, people decide, all right, well, let's rent it, and that's happening in droves right now.
Well, yes, and a good example of what you're talking about is. We have in North Arlington, we have a master planned community that we've always done really well in. We've gotten really strong rents. We've never had any problem getting anybody in there. And rents just have been really, really good, really high, right? It's a coveted area. Well, I had an investor call me with a new one yesterday in that area, and she wants us to rent it. And so I'm pulling up an analysis for both that one and one that we have coming up. And this home would normally rent for about $3,600 based on what's happening. And right now, in order to compete with the 18 listings active on the market, and I'm not talking about all the listings, I'm talking about the ones that are similar in size and just like this home, townhomes in this area. 18 listings. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe my eyes. we probably need to market at about 2,800 to be competitive to get somebody in there. And that's my point, is that it's more important that you get somebody in there paying rent than you over concerning yourself with how much rent you're getting at times like this. Because something is better than nothing.
So true. And it's an easier math equation than some people make it out to be, right? So they will stick to their 3,600 for 2 months, okay? Instead of renting it out for 30, let's say 32. That's a huge jump, right? They're like $400 less. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's 3,600 times 2? You know? If you had rented it out for 3,200 2 months before, $400 times 12. Let's see, that's $4,800.
It's a lot less than $7,200.
Yeah, than the $7,200 you would have that you lost by waiting 2 months, and it's still not rented, and it's still at the end of that math equation is still probably a $3,200 a month, right? So speed to reducing. I mean, these softenings are good. They're healthy for the market. There's a lot of negatives combining to make this a little more extreme, but like, especially in that range, like 3,600 a month is not, the lower income families, right?
Yeah.
In this area. So, and the middle income or upper middle income is being wiped out, and that supply is going down because everything other than housing has gone up so much. So like people who used to be able to afford 3,600 are now rebudgeting to 2,800, and then you have a bigger jump. The people who could spend $5,000 a month on rent didn't do it because they were at the top of their budget at $5,000. That's just a big jump. That's a huge jump. Most people spending $5,000. That's a significantly less portion of their income.
Mm-hmm.
Like they make, let's call it $17,000 a month. I mean, they have to even qualify at most places. So it's a big difference. So I think all these factors combining is having an effect on it. So it's definitely not Uptober for rents.
Uptober, that was a good one. I like that. Yeah, it's a temporary deal, and you know what? It's something that correlates really well with what's happening with rents is the amount of evictions that we're seeing. So this is all relates to the economy, inflation, the whole bit, right? And we're seeing we're going to eviction court more than we would like, and more than we normally do right now, I think. And that is, I mean, when you think about it, if rents go up and they go higher than people can afford, right? And now everybody's renting for more than they can afford, and their pay isn't going up. And then inflation goes up, and every other expense in their life, to your point that you just made, goes up. And then naturally, they're going to start being evicted. And then you have a whole bunch of inventory out on the market that you now can't rent at that same rate. And it's a cycle, and we're in the middle of the cycle.
Well, yeah, exactly. So let's talk directly to the investors a little bit about why it's still a buy now time. Is what that's when you want to start really buying, is when things start softening on the rental side, because the rental side, which we've talked a lot about in the past, is the tail end of it. So that means that prices, or that doesn't necessarily mean, but it is true that sales prices have gone down and have already been going down. So the real estate's cheap. The rates have started going down. And when that starts happening, that usually is the point when the sales prices, once people start noticing things, is when you've already missed the boat, right? Mm-hmm. So this is when the sales prices will probably have softened about as much as they're going to. Rates can keep going down, but that's something that you can still affect change on in the future, right? You can still refinance, you can still do that. The sales price won't change. But once these things start getting better, once rents stop softening and start going back up, it's going to, sales prices at that point probably already have started going back up, and these things all cascade, a couple $100 on the rental rate, a couple $100 on the month, the cost of holding it, those things significantly matter to your cash flow. And as an investor,
just use some common sense and some basic economics, right? Look around at what's happening in the world right now and understand that when people are more confident in the economy, employers they invest more, right? They invest more into their employees. They hire more people. The economy does better. More people now buy stuff. And that all correlates with what happens with rents. So just pay attention. Right now, all of that, everything I just mentioned sucks, right?
Well, yeah.
Isn't that's when you want to be in? Don't they say buy low?
Well, buy low, sell high. And like another one I like to say is it's not against anyone. It's just a fact. The 2 Ds. Deals come from desperation. And what I see right now is the back end part of the market is the wholesale market, which is where a lot of investors buy their inventory. Is that inventory is sitting on the market too? At rates I've never seen, not never seen, but like very recently. Wholesalers can't even get things sold. So now they're throwing deals. They're on my phone begging me to buy stuff, it's a good point to be in for finding the deals.
Right. And to your point, wholesalers, what I'm noticing, I'm sure you're seeing them too, they're also doing the same thing that some landlords are doing, and they're trying like heck to sell at the rates that they thought they should have been able to sell for, months ago. Well, instead of making an adjustment.
Yeah, and these other factors help you justify getting deals. Well, okay, this house isn't, you could say this house isn't worth this because sales prices in this area are going down by this. You need to go down by this. And then now rents are going down by this. So to even make it worth my while, and, here's my cash flow number, and that's the deal I'll do it at.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's dealing with. Yep. So, but I mean, that's where it trickles down. If someone needs to sell this house and it's a burden to their finances and they can't do that, and they try to rent it and they can't do that, now they go to a wholesaler and they're just trying to get a cash offer to get out of it. Deals come from desperation. That's where the sharks are swarming right now. We see it. The people who've been sitting on the sidelines with their cash are very close to getting ready to execute that money. And even the really smart investors, I could tell you, I can almost give you a timeline right now. It's October 17th. They're waiting 2-3 weeks. You give this another 2-3 weeks to see how this election results, and they'll really start executing some of those.
Well, not only that, and deals. I still contend it doesn't even matter. The results of the election don't even matter. I think what you said will happen regardless. Now,
no, I think it'll happen regardless. I'm just saying I know, and I know a lot of people who, and I know a lot of investors do this. They just, regardless of the result, they're just going to wait till after.
Yeah, They're gonna be upset when their guy doesn't get in, and then they'll be like, okay, well, it's time for me to move on because my life and my wealth is built among my actions, not the actions of a president. So, I forgot what I was going to tell you. It was really important, whatever it is. Well, insert something important here.
Here's a good point. It could make a difference to some of this stuff because it's not even a political debate. If Trump specifically does get elected in November, then there's a high chance he reinstates his bonus depreciation from his last term, which gives people a high incentive to buy real rental properties before December 31st of this year. Assuming he backdates it, but he backdated it last time. So just going off historical events and the results of this, you could get some huge tax savings if he does do that. So, and that's what a lot of rental investors are, I wouldn't say banking on, but hoping for.
I feel like we've incorporated a couple different topics into this podcast. I like it because they correlate real well.
Softening.
But no, before we get back to softening, I want to remind people also, and I think we talked about this last time, that I think it's highly anticipated by people in the know. And when I say people in the know, two people in particular have been talking about this for quite some time that I think are well respected no matter what side of the aisle you're on regarding the market, the stock market. And that is both Warren Buffett and Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Actually, I've heard him say this also. And I think all three of them, whether you like those people or not, most people would say that they know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about when it comes to the stock market. I've heard all of them say recently to take your chips off the table, that the stock market is I know you pay attention to this, so I'm curious to see what
we
you
are
say.
not
But
giving
it's
stock market
way
advice
over
on this podcast.
No, we're not. But it's my point is, if you listen to those people or you get that advice, or if that's the advice you want to follow, then why not take that money off the table, out of the stock market, and put it into real estate? Now, you don't necessarily need to put it into a piece of real estate. You could put it into a REIT. You could put it into a stock that invests in real estate. You could keep it in the stock market and still move it into a real estate realm. The point being, I think that most are anticipating that the stock market is overvalued and it will correct itself very soon.
Yeah, I mean, that's been probably coming, in my opinion, for a while. People are moving their money into Bitcoin. So
NVIDIA
October
right now,
17th of 2025, we'll be doing this podcast, and it'll be a 6-digit number, in my opinion. But yeah, don't even get into NVIDIA.
I mean, that's ridiculous. NVIDIA is just an example of how ridiculously overvalued everything is. I mean,
that's probably the least overvalued. They have the most valuable piece. They're selling the most valuable product to exist in the last 25 years.
Okay, well,
but
I am not a stock market expert. I just listen on the sidelines. I don't even play in that game. I'd rather go to Vegas and put my money on a blackjack table.
You're not doing much different of a thing, to be honest, because at the end of the day, BlackRock is telling us that right now. So, they own everything. So it's not even an opinion. It's a fact. But the softening rental market.
That's what we're supposed to be talking about today.
But, I mean, that's where, like, I'm actually trying to buy again right now. This is perfect time. I think bonus depreciation might come back. And another opinion I heard, this is just, talking, I know we did an episode about the election, but when it comes to housing prices and stuff, either candidate is going to help that. This is a rare event where, one candidate wins, you're still going to have a massive supply issue because, the massive amount of people needing housing.
Well,
and then the other one's just more tax friendly.
Kamala's just going to, I'm sorry, Kamala's just going to print more money and give it out to people, which will help the housing market, but also will hurt inflation even more.
See, that's an opinion. No, that's actually a fact. But
that's
the...
Well, that's what she says she's going to do.
I was more saying the inventory issue is being caused worse by the massive...
I got you.
What would you call it? Migration? Mass migration?
Yes.
That's what we're going to call it. Okay.
And she wants to give $25,000 to those people as well as other first-time home buyers for their first home, which I'm not against doing that in a smart way, but she just wants to print money to do it, which is dumb. Sorry.
Should we talk about that for a second? Because I'll tell you how that works. So this is, people always wonder
podcast
how
number 3?
Money printing in real estate works. Well,
can we just chop this podcast up into 3 different topics?
I have a lien on my house of $10,000 in printed money. So there's a good example because it was a first-time homebuyer program that my wife used, right? And they put, I owe the federal government $10,000 back at which time I sell my house. That money never existed. It just exists on a lien. And then one day I'm going to pen it back to them and they're going to scratch it off, right? So that is what they're doing. They're doing it. But to your point, this has been something that been happening a lot, especially since COVID, is these programs for housing are all over the place for down payment assistance. And yeah, it's just printing money.
Well, they're not as plentiful as they used to be still. But I feel like at least one of our candidates wants to bring it back, in a lot like what Clinton did, which is partly what caused our housing crash. So it sounds like I'm bashing one side right now. I'm just pointing out facts is all I'm doing. All
these economic issues involving the housing market get overruled really by supply shocks, by lack of supply. The demand can overcome all these problems to make
and has proven to
values.
Do that.
Yeah, it has proven to do that. Like people are like, why hasn't the housing market crashed since everything else crashed 2 years ago?
Because people need houses.
Rates went to 8-9%. It's like, well, because you got more people that need houses than there are houses. I mean, that's just a simple fact of life that you can't change. You can't change by moving some numbers around like the Federal Reserve tries to do.
And you made it really appealing for institutional investors. And right now, they're not snatching things up right now. So, because it's not an appealing economic environment for them.
Well, no. When the last administration ran on the fact that they were going to open borders and let millions of people into our country, you know what the biggest investor group in the world did? BlackRock. They bought up 50% of the real estate in the country because they didn't do that until the election finished. So they did it in massive droves. I mean, it was insane. So, I mean, you saw we'd have 23 offers, and one of them would be from some unnamed LLC that probably tracked back to something owned by hedge funds. But
yeah, yeah, I don't know. You call it all BlackRock, and so I just have to take your word for it. I haven't.
I call all of it BlackRock. I don't know that BlackRock's a company.
No, I know it is, but you just assume that all the hedge funds.
Oh, no. But no, I'm not assuming. I'm just saying what they did and then what we saw. This is observing. This is just observing.
I got you.
But
I just don't want any BlackRock thugs at my door, like, taking my arms off or anything,
They wouldn't do that. It would definitely be way less obvious than that,
I would just disappear.
Just disappear.
It'd be Kyle be doing this podcast all by himself.
You're not a Boeing whistleblower or, I don't know. You need to stop throwing words out there. So we were just talking about the rocks outside that are not white, they're black. And the softening of the rental market. So if you guys have any questions about how much this is going to go, how far it's going to soften.
I think we had fun with this one today. Yeah, I thought it was going to be depressing, and we had fun with it. See? You can make something depressing fun.
I think it's a great time to buy. So
great time to buy.
Great time to buy. Things will unsoften. People will continue to need rentals.
Don't worry about the pain you're feeling when you accept the rent from the tenant. It'll get better.
Well, I guess we didn't talk about how a lot of investors are upset that the softening is getting under their cost of holding the property. Which
that's what I'm hearing. It's one of the reasons why we decided to do this podcast, is because I'm hearing that a lot from we're having to reduce rents to get them occupied. And the rents that we're having to reduce to is sometimes below their holding costs. Now, I'll point out that, well, I don't know if I should point this out or not, but sometimes people's holding costs are higher because of their own doing, right?
Yeah.
If you refinance something and take cash out, I mean,
that's what I was going to say.
Then of course you're putting yourself in that position that's going to happen to you. So don't do that.
You'll hear like, I've owned this property since 2006, and now this softening in rents is getting it under my holding costs, and I'm like, whoa, you left out something there. So in 2021, did you refinance it and take $200,000 out of the property?
I had the same conversation.
No, I took $200,000 out of the property 2 years ago. I'm like,
that's
so
hilarious.
You essentially resold it to yourself 2 years ago. Now your holding costs changed, and I'm like, one thing you could do is for the next 6 months while you're negative $50 on it, maybe take that $50 out of the $200,000 that you pulled out.
Well, taxes and insurance have gone up, and that is a legitimate argument, and hopefully those things scale back also. Taxes should scale back and catch up to the scaling back of values. Hopefully insurance, when we get a handle on this inflation, gets more competitive and those rates start to come down. But that's all going to take some time.
Yeah,
and I think it'll happen.
I think it's, and I'm not trying to say that you should just get over it. Like, that's definitely not true. Just have proper perspective and use these things to your advantage to go find new deals. Because I think there's a lot of room right now to take advantage of these factors, and rightfully so. Not like you should disingenuously take advantage of these. Like, rightfully so. Like, this house is worth less because of what I can get for it, and what it's going to cost, and those things matter. So, because it's only worth what someone will buy. You reminded me of a conversation that I had, almost exactly what you said too. When I had a client tell me, "Oh my gosh,
$2,200 is going to be below my holding costs. I'm sitting there thinking, man, we've been managing this thing for you for like 12 years. And I look back, I'm like, what happened when we were renting it for $1,500 10 years ago? Where you must have been losing your butt. I mean, like, no, you were doing fine. Otherwise, I would have heard about it back then too. But like, to your point, something's happened between now and then to make that difference, to make that statement true.
Yeah.
Or it's not true. One of the two. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Well, and just do yourself a favor
painful
in those situations. And the one thing, if you've owned a house for like 15, 20 years, I actually had a conversation with someone the other day. I was like, go look, before you actually cash out refi, go look at what your interest, or go look at an amortization schedule. Go look at how much you've paid in interest as of today, how much you will pay in interest for the next 15 years. And then go look at your new loan that you're looking at, because interest is front loaded. You can't describe this enough.
So frustrating.
That if you have a 30-year loan and 15 years later you want to refinance, you didn't pay down half that loan in refinance. You just didn't. You paid 80% of the interest to the bank and now you want to do it again. That's really what you're doing. So, I mean, there's smart reasons to do it. We talk about the BRRRR. We talk about cash flow, all these things, but know what you're doing, have proper perspective, and understand.
Again, we're on topic number 4 now.
Yeah.
I love it. Andrew,
throw it all
split
out
this
there.
up. Let's split this up. Make 4.
Well, no, these are the points that come up about this one topic: softening rental market. You get the call. Is the rental market softening? Yes, and let's talk about.
I'm just trying to get more content out of this one podcast. That's all.
Proper perspective.
I did have that same experience when I looked at a statement earlier for a home that I recently refinanced for good reason. And, like $250 is going toward principal and like $890 is going toward interest. That hurts, especially when for the previous, 10 years, you'd already done that, to your point. And now you're starting to get it to, a point where it's, half and half, or maybe you're sending more to principal than you are interest, and then you go refinance and start it over again. That hurts. And when I do that, what I've done is I've turned it into like a 15-year. Instead of just refinancing into a 30-year, I've refinanced into a 15-year, more or less, so that even though I'm doing the same thing, I'm still doing it. I feel like I'm at least helping that cause and acknowledging and respecting the fact that I've just paid 10 or 15 years worth of interest, and I don't want to do that again. So I'm only going to pay 5 or 10 years worth of interest,
Well, then there's the whole argument about paying over on your mortgage if you want to do that.
Yeah, probably not a good idea either.
Why? Should we get into that? No, I'm just
That would be topic number 5.
Well, we'll leave this on softening rental market.
There you
and
go.
Discuss the less. So, deals from desperation is the number one. But no, I was gonna tie this back to a 6th topic of planting the seed, right? So, like, why we say it's always a good time. Well, right now is a good time. Like, we have purchased deals throughout all the markets we've talked about over the last 2 years, right? And when you buy them, regardless of the market, that all evens out in the long run, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we have one that we closed on, that we just finished like 6 months ago. Yeah, it's going to be, the cash flow is going to be a little worse than we expected, but do we care? No, because this is a 10-year, it was 5 to 10 year time horizon.
To your point, we care, but we're not thinking we're not thinking short term. We're thinking about a long-term investment, or a longer term investment than just what's happening this month and what's happening right now.
Correct. So, I mean, I've commonly brought up the houses that I talked to people about between 2017 and 2019, right? And those short-term conversations they overcame. Well, did we expect 3-4 years after that to go by and you to be like, whoa, yeah, that worked out? No, I expected like 5 to 10 years to go by, but still, you never know. Plant the seed, get it done. Soften rental market will turn into an inflated rental market again one day. So.
Right.
But this is great. Let's kill it. Last topic is our phone number. Give us a call, 817-818-9039. Shoot us an email the old-fashioned way at showmethemoney@wearetpm.com. John and Kyle are out.